Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again, and today I'm reviewing The Great American Novel by Philip Roth, a novel I've been willing to read for quite a while actually. It's been sitting on my shelf for ages, and lately I've decided to actually check out all those novels I've accumulated throughout the last year and a half, because maybe I wanted to check them out sometime, and instead of, letting them take on dust forever, I finally decided to check them out before I move on to other stuff. Great American Novel was one of them. Why my interest in it? Basically because a few years ago, when I was starting to study literature as a university student, I had that kind of fascination that I'm sure many English undergraduates have for the great novels of literary history. And as someone who had not studied American literature at all, had not read much of it at all before the age of 19 or 20, I was very much interested in this curious idea of the great American novel, of this, world novel that encompasses all that it means to be, an American, all that, American society is, all of its dreams, all of its contradictions. It's an interesting concept, and it's a concept not many other national literatures have. My personal 2-cent theory is that it's because since America is such a young nation, it has, it's in some ways it still has to decide what it is about, whereas older nations in Europe, nations in Asia, can very well, be contented with, being about existing on this planet. But of course, the very idea of the great American novel is in many ways ridiculous, both because of the complexity of American society, because of the way America has evolved and changed dramatically in the 2.5 centuries it's been around, and because in general the idea of a big, long novel that encompasses all that a nation is quintessentially ridiculous and goes against, the very idea of fiction as a way of exploring the complexities of the world. That sounds like a way of reducing the world into, a big novel that everyone can read so that they can feel what it is to be an American. That's silly and stupid. And of course, the very name, Great American Novel, sounds pompous and sounds pretentious, and offers itself very well to satire. And Great American Novel by Philip Roth is very much a satirical treatment of this whole concept. But one thing you must know about this novel, other than it's amazing and everyone should read it, it's truly very beautiful, I loved it, it was amazing fun. Other than that, you should know that this is a multi-layered and complex and multifaceted novel that offers so much stuff to the reader. Just like another novel about baseball that I read recently, which is Universal Baseball Association by Robert Coover. Where's the motherfucker? Here it is. Just like this slender jam, Great American Novel is about so much stuff and is so many different types of narrative all wrapped in a single awesome burrito. It's the Universal Baseball Association is a novel about isolation and loneliness and madness in some ways, but it's also about the nature of artistic creation and authorship. It's about the nature of fiction and storytelling. It's about control. It's very much about death and the fear of death and the things we do to avoid thinking about death. And you should check out the Universal Baseball Association, by the way. Great American Novel, in that same sense, is a satirical take on the whole idea of this maximalist novel, but it's also a beautiful comic novel. And it is a novel that deals with, the very idea, the many ideas America has of itself and of what it means to be an American, whether America is this land where the message of God can be fulfilled, whether being an American means being brave and courageous and, have that kind of winning mentality, whether it's a place for people to just exploit one another as mercilessly as possible. In a way, Roth's novel explores, through the narrator's prejudiced and caustic point of view, it explores the many faces of America. And you probably already see where I'm going, but as much as it is a satire of the Great American Novel, this can very much be read as an instance of the Great American Novel. And the two elements are never in contradiction, and I was always able to both read at the jokes Roth throws at you about how ridiculous American society and American ideals sometimes are, while at the same time enjoying this epic struggle, and the many difficulties of the guys at the heart of this novel, which are the only Major League Baseball team in baseball history without a home. They were displaced for their home. They had to tour an entire season, playing as visitors, and you'll see what happens. Another crucial thing the Great American Novel is a beautiful thriller. This is an amazing thriller, and even though the thriller element in the narrative only comes in the second half of the book, really in its last third actually, it illuminates everything you've read before and sheds a new light on it, and it turns the narrative into a book that's even more thrilling and exciting and fascinating and wonderful. And I would not hesitate to call this an amazing and utterly rewarding thriller. And that makes you understand why Philip Roth is such an amazing writer. Because sure, he is in the Library of America, everyone knows him. He is one of the few writers that are very well known in Italy. I'm talking about American writers. American literature isn't so widely read in Italy, but Philip Roth is very famous. In general, why he is so appreciated, which is, sure, he talks about controversial topics. He talks about, Jewish issues and about the contradictions of American society, and he talks about important stuff, but basically because he writes like a motherfucker. He is so good and he can deliver such amazing stories. And the pleasure of storytelling to be found in a novel such as The Great American Novel is priceless. Really, it's a novel that made me feel like dropping anything else I was doing and just read the whole of Philip Roth's production from Portnoy's Complaint onward. I won't do that, but it made me feel like doing it. It was such an amazing thriller of international intrigue, hilariously fun. Of course, it's the whole thriller element of the book is in so many ways completely absurd, but it gets to the point in which it is so absurd that it turns into serious business. And then you start forgetting about how absurd what you're reading is, and you start getting involved in the actual action and in the lives of the characters. It's such an amazing novel. The satirical elements, which I mentioned, are there, and if you have some knowledge of literary history or American literature, you're probably going to have a great time finding them out. American literature, but also world literature. This is a book with characters called Gilgamesh and Roland in it. It's a book where one of the earliest chapters offers you like a list of the players in this baseball team that of course calls to mind classic Greek literature and all the lists of the heroes, those unbearable lists you find in like the Odyssey and the Iliad most notably. I'm not sure there are in the Odyssey. I don't know shit about classic literature, bear with me. And again, finding about all these little bit, all of these elements is great fun, but if you don't care about that shit, don't worry, it doesn't make the text heavier or denser. It's a pleasure to read. It is allegedly a novel filled with sexism and racism and horrible racist jokes, but you are clever people and I don't need to tell you about the difference between author and narrator. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Also, the novel begins with 40 pages of prologue, really 40-50 pages of prologue, which are completely unbearable and which made me, feel like, oh my god, I should really drop this shit. But they are there because, they introduce the narrator and they are one of the most hilarious satirical elements in the book. Also, these 40 pages also feature a scene in which Ernest Hemingway beats a poor waitress, and they feature a very direct commentary on the whole idea of the Great American Novel, and they are boring at times, but, carry on through them. The rest of the novel is a breeze and amazing. That's it. Let me know if you've read The Great American Novel, what you think about it. Do you share my enthusiasm for it? Am I exaggerating? I remember reading an interview with Philip Roth ages ago in which he said that this is the kind of book that usually, it's the kind of book the adolescent sons of his friends like the most among his books, and I guess I am an adolescent in my heart still to this day. What do you think about the great American novel? What do you think about Philip Roth in general? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching once again, guys. Bye, guys!